ho ho, woo woo, 59. Hey, this is Rosa59 here. Today I'm going to show you guys how to make this airplane wall shelf. You can put in your room or a kid's room, and you can hang small little items on top like a stuffed animal toy. And you can download these free plans. Hope you guys enjoy the video. You want to take your 2x6s and you want to glue them together. And once you've glued them together and let them dry overnight, and then you want to go ahead and trace it onto your 2x6. And you want to take it over to your bandsaw and cut out the shape. And what you want to do with the wings is you want to fold one of the edges over on the dotted line. There's a crease. You kind of can see that in the photograph here. And then you want to take your Dremel tool and have the sander on the end of it, and you just want to start to slowly shape your wings. And in this picture you kind of can see a better way of starting to shape it. And you just use your Dremel tool and just kind of here and there shape it. And you can take your sander, and on the end of the wings I kind of gave it just a little bit of bevel. And then now we're going to go back to the body part. And with the body part, what we're going to do for the body of the airplane is on planes, it kind of has a diagonal at the front part. So you just want to roughly draw in where the propeller kind of goes. You'll see at the front from this drawing, kind of like from a top view you want to draw. If you do look on your side of your template, you will see it kind of shows, you kind of line everything up, and that's what I kind of did. It took me a while to figure this process out. But once you kind of I figured all that out, then you want to go ahead and take it to the bandsaw and cut away those edges to kind of give you a small point. And once you've got that small point, then you want to sand everything, all your edges, and then you want to take your router. And I used a 3/8 round over bit to kind of give it that round over look. And then at the back part, I thought this would be an easier time, since I don't have the wings on, would be to add the back brackets to hang your airplane wall shelf. And basically I just used, I think, 1/8 plywood scrap that I had, and I put that in behind, and I just drilled holes on the edges so that these brackets would be able to go in. And once everything was all good, for the wings I used the Craig pocket hole jig, and I set it to 3/4 inch, so like you're doing regular 3/4. Only thing different usually you just use 1.25" screws, but I used 1.5" screws because I am going into a thicker piece material, so I wanted to make sure that this is nice and strong, because this is your holding power. And when you glue the wings together, you just want to add a little bit of glue, add your screw. Once everything is all nice and tight and you're happy the way that it is, then we want to go ahead and plug those holes at the back so you don't see the holes where the screws were put in. And I just used just paintable pocket hole fillers, basically, that you can buy. I got mine at Home Depot. And I just added some glue in there and then put them in. And then I just sanded when everything was all nice and dry. And then now it's time to add the propeller. I thought of an idea of buying an egg, which you can buy a wooden egg at a craft store, or Lee Valley carries it. And I just cut the front of the nose off. This was just a playing game, kind of figuring out what length that I wanted to go. And then once I found out what length I wanted to, I cut the egg of the nose part off. And then I just added some glue and clamped it up and let it dry overnight. And then once I was happy with that, I just went ahead and sanded with sandpaper all nice and round. And then I also went back and took my Dremel tool, and you kind of can see that little detailed at the front there, kind of for the engine. I also cut out for my propellers an 1/8 inch plywood, is where I took back the Dremel tool and I kind of cut just small holes, which was just an 1/8 inch that I used. And then once I was happy with where I wanted the propellers to go, I just went ahead and glued them in. And then it's time to make for the wheels. And the wheels I bought at Lee Valley, and I just used 1/8 inch plywood, making it a little bit bigger than what they had, because when I made it small, the hole wasn't big enough for the wheel to go into, so I ended up just making a little bit bigger. And then I did the same concept as the propellers. I used my Dremel tool, just cut out the areas on an angle a bit where I wanted the wheels to hang out from. And now becomes the fun part, is painting it. So I did 1 coat of primer, and I just used Behr Premium Plus, their purple can primer, the stain blocking. It's a really great primer, I find. And then I also used white paint. I painted everything white, the airplane, and I used their Alkyd Behr, just white base. And the reason for that is because it acts like an oil base, but it is water cleanup and it is very, very durable. It does take a longer time for it to dry, but I found this would be great for a bookshelf because you are going to have a lot of things being put on it and stuff like that, so you want a nice good paint on there. And adding some blue paint that Home Depot had, and then I also added silver to the front part there of the propeller, and then I gave it a black propeller look with the ends tips just a little bit white. And then the wheels, I gave it black, and then I started adding in the windows. And just a fancy kind of design that I came up with. And then at the front here, I drilled 2 small little holes there at the front, and added these little diamond things I got at the dollar store. And what I ended up doing was putting them in because they looked kind of cool around, and I thought a better idea would be adding some glow-in-the-dark glue in. So once I put this small jewel in, it looked really cool because in the dark it was faded, but just a little bit glow-in-the-dark, but then you don't really notice the jewels so much. But it kind of gives that light effect on airplanes have. And then on the side I just added some red with a little bit of black in it just to give the sides not so bright red color of lights, and then I added glow-in-the-dark paint also on the edge of it as well. And here's the finished product. Well, I hope you guys liked this tutorial, and if you guys have any questions or comments, please do leave them below and I'll try my best to answer them. Thanks for watching.